Hello and welcome back to week 7 on my journey of being a beginner beekeeper. Over the last few weeks, the colonies have really started building up. So today I want to check how they're progressing, whether they're taking down the pollen patty and if they have enough space and food. Straight away, I can see there's loads of activity on these frames. They definitely seem much more interested in the super frames now. They've taken down a little of the pollen protein and they've also started drawing out a few of the super frames, which is great to see. I'm also seeing more nectar and pollen coming into the hive this week, which is really reassuring after the worrying bit about stores last week. With the weather finally improving slightly, the bees seem much happier and far more active. As for the national hive, they surprised me yet again. They haven't really taken much notice of the pollen patty I gave them, but over the last week they've been hard at work drawing out all the super frames. There is now 7 out of 12 frames fully drawn out, with some of the comb already being filled with nectar. The queen is also laying a really nice, tight brood pattern, and there's plenty of different coloured pollen and nectar waiting to be capped over. The bees in the national have honestly surprised me so much, considering this colony started as a swarm with just one frame of brood, some capped stores, and the rest foundation. And bearing in mind it's also a 12 frame hive, they've done incredibly well. They've honestly ran circles around my nuke colony, which is only an 8 frame hive. So today, I'm also going to be carrying out my very first Varroa mite test using an alcohol wash on both of my hives. As a beginner beekeeper, this is definitely one of the more nerve-wracking parts of beekeeping for me, but it's really important to monitor the health of the colonies. For anyone new to beekeeping like me, Varroa mites are one of the biggest pests affecting honeybees. They weaken colonies over time and can spread viruses throughout the hive, so regular monitoring is really important. The alcohol wash method is considered one of the most accurate ways to check mite levels, because it separates the mites from the bees so you can properly count them. I know this method can be difficult to watch because it does sacrifice some bees. But from everything I've learnt so far, monitoring and managing Varroa properly is one of the best things we can do to protect overall health of the colony.
You got me to the top now.
Thankfully, the mite count today actually looks really low, which is very reassuring. I didn't find any mites in the Langstroth hive, and I only found one mite in the national hive. Although those numbers are great news, this is definitely something I'll continue to monitor throughout the season, especially as we're now getting into the peak time for Varroa populations to increase. One thing I'm quickly learning about beekeeping is that it's not just about honey or watching bees fly around. It's also about responsibilities, learning proper hive management, and doing everything you can to keep the colony healthy. So we've got less than 2 frames there anyway. I'm also starting to prepare for the next stage of the season now. With the colonies getting stronger, I may need to think about adding more space soon, if this growth continues. And hopefully, if everything keeps going well, maybe some honey later in the season too. I've also got a bit of thinking to do. At the moment, I've got a full brood box and super being drawn out, without a queen excluder on. So now I'm trying to decide whether to go for a brood and a half or stick with one brood box and supers. I'm also unsure whether I'll need to do the Demaree method later on. So let me know in the comments what you think I should do in this situation. One of my favourite things about beekeeping so far is how much it makes you slow down and pay attention. Every week feels different, and every inspection teaches me something new. Thanks so much for joining me for week 7 of my beekeeping journey. If you got any tips or advice for a beginner beekeeper, I genuinely love to hear them in the comments. And if you've been enjoying my journey so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you all in week 8. Bye bees!